They began when the legendary Franz Beckenbauer carried out the World Cup trophy. Soldier Field in Chicago was the place for Game 1. The Germans, a heavy favorite, would take on the underdogs from Bolivia, but there were a lot of surprises in Chicago.
And some of the questions raised about these favorites from Europe concern their age. Yes, a very experienced team that was chosen by Bertie Folks, but also a team somewhat older than the average in this World Cup. And the question was, could they withstand the heat and humidity they would face in the USA 94?
Off of the Hessler chest trap, Jürgen Klinsmann would score what proved to be the game-winning goal. It was the only goal. That was one of the surprises in Game 1 for Germany. They could only score one against the heavy underdogs from Bolivia.
And Bolivia had surprised the world by beating Brazil in one qualifying match, and they did give the Germans a very tough battle in this day.
Game 1 gets the World Cup off to a rousing start in Chicago. Germany wins, but only by a slim 1-0 margin. When the United States played Switzerland, it was the first time a World Cup match was played indoors. And for the United States, they did not get off to a great start. A Bresci goal off a free kick put the United States in a 1-0 hole.
And for the United States, it came down to a case of dueling free kicks. For at the other end, when they got their opportunity, Eric Wijnaldum made no mistake with this marvelous goal. This goal showed that the United States truly had arrived on the world stage in soccer, because it was a masterpiece.
The United States picked up their first points in a World Cup since 1950.
And with the great support of the fans behind them, they could now look ahead to their big challenge, Colombia.
Italy would meet Ireland at Giant Stadium in the Meadowlands. And the first surprise was the crowd. Not that it was a sellout, but that it was pro-Irish.
The Irish took over Giant Stadium this day, and this matchup was the one that was most anticipated ever since the draw in Las Vegas.
Everyone expected a low-scoring game, and they got it. They also saw an early goal by Ireland. Ray Houghton scored from outside the penalty area as the Irish fans erupted.
The main attacking tactic for Ireland was the long ball into the penalty area. It created a lot of confusion and creates this opportunity for Ray Houghton. And a stingy Irish defense was well able to protect their one-goal lead.
For Ireland, it was an important 3 points. For Italy, an early wake-up call. World Cups always produce upsets. Romania versus Colombia. And early on, it was Romania on the attack.
And what a surprise that was. Everybody picked Colombia to be one of the favorites to win this, and they fell behind early to two magnificent goals, this one from Giorgi Hagi, who was to become a famous name in this World Cup.
But the proud Colombians battled back and actually made a game out of it.
But on this day, Romania was not to be outdone. It was the early sign of the emergence of Eastern European soccer in World Cup '94.
The Romanians celebrate over the first real upset of this tournament, a 3-1 win over Colombia. Cameroon faced an early challenge from Sweden when Sweden scored the first goal by Jung. Cameroon was on their heels 1-0.
But the Cameroonians attacked with great flair and panache and tied this game up very early, and then went into one of the very special celebrations of 1994.
Cameroon were the darlings of the 1990 World Cup, and goals like this and dances like this might make them popular in America in '94.
But Sweden, with their direct style of play, came right back at Cameroon, and Martin Dahlin got the tying goal. For Sweden then, this was a .1. And for Cameroon, an indication that this would not be 1990 revisited.
This would be our first look at Brazil and their wild fans. They always make it a home field advantage. The Brazilians against the Russians, and Romario sets the tone early. It was Brazil defeating Russia by a 2-0 score, proving that they were to be one of the forces in this 1994 World Cup. For Brazil, a three-time champion, the beat goes on. The World Cup's biggest underdog, Saudi Arabia, scored this goal to give them a lead against Holland. It was their first goal in World Cup history.
The Dutch were stunned as they seriously underestimated the strength of Saudi Arabia, and it took a long-range shot by Wim Jonk to get them into a tie. Then it was only through a last-minute mistake by the Saudi Arabian goalkeeper that allowed Talment to give Holland the victory. There was more relief than joy at the Dutch bench, as they were very nearly embarrassed by an impressive Saudi team.
When Argentina met Greece at Foxborough Stadium, it was David versus Goliath, and Goliath came to play. It turned into the Gabriel Batistuta show early on.
And the great news for soccer fans was that Argentina was back, showing all the skill in attack, all the commitment to verve and style that all fans had hoped for.
But the Argentina offensive explosion took away from the fact that there was a goalkeeper change. Sergio Goycochea was not in goal. Instead, it was Luis Islas. But anyone could have played goal on this day against the Greeks. And then it was Diego Maradona's turn. Maradona trying to put a finishing touch on to show that this could be his World Cup. Diego was back, if only for a short while. And then it was Batistuta putting the finishing touch on with this penalty kick. He gets the hat trick, and Argentina wins over Greece 4-0.
And the sounds of their success echoed from Boston to Bogota and to Rio, where the Brazilians suddenly realized they had an opponent to worry about now. And Maradona joyful after this one, but storm clouds were gathering for him. Spanish fans had very high expectations for this team, and the disappointment of the 2-2 tie with South Korea was forgotten as they took on Germany.
Especially after this great goal by Goycochea to give Spain a 1-0 lead against the defending World Cup champions. But the proud Germans come back, as they generally do, with their top gun Klinsmann scoring yet another goal, tying this one for Germany. Klinsmann would get more chances in this one, including this shot that goes over the bar. Bertie Folks would like to see more of Klinsmann, and he would. Klinsmann breaks through to the defense. The go-ahead goal, no. Disappointment for the Germans, it's only a tie.
And now, out of Africa, something new and something different. Nigeria in the World Cup for the first time as the champions of Africa. And Rashidi Yekini gave them their first goal and gave the world one of its most memorable pictures.
But Nigeria had more than just Yekini. Other players contributed en route to a 3-0 win over a stunned Bulgaria. Players like Amokachi and Amuniki were spectacular on the ground and in the air. Nigeria beats Bulgaria 3-0, shutting out Stoichkov and company, one of the few times during the World Cup that Stoichkov would be goalless.
And this is because they had Rufai in goal. And Nigeria showed that they had strong defense as well as flamboyant firepower up front.